Thank you for letting me be here today. My name is Bob Peel, and I'm actually a Department of Commerce employee assigned to the Wanchese Marine Industrial Park. So thank you for being here and having this meeting today. The Wanchese Marine Industrial Park opened in 1981 and has 50 acres of property, another 15-acre man-made basin. It was actually part of a federal project in the 1970s to build jetties out of Oregon Inlet that we never built. The park has roughly, probably 300 people working in it today. 24 businesses currently call the park home. And remember, the Wanchese Park only has half the Wanchese Harbor. The other half is privately owned by mainly commercial fishing businesses that are still there and operating. All 24 businesses in the Wanchese Marine Park depend on safe navigation to, from, and through Oregon Inlet. Now, I want you to think about, when you think about navigation, think about it in a holistic manner. I'm going to talk a little bit about the channel coming into Wanchese, but the reality is if you improve that channel and the ocean bar is impassable, what good does it do? You have to improve all of the channels in the navigational system of the area to ensure that we can get to and from where we need to go. So, and I might add too that the Marine Park has an economic impact to the state of about $103 million a year. So it is a noticeable location for marine business. If you ride through the park today, you'll see a lot of boats and things, but one thing you won't see a lot of are commercial trawlers, the larger commercial fishing trawlers. Our fleet now is smaller because the smaller fleet can go through, smaller size fleet can go through channels with less water. But we really would love to have our trawlers, our big trawlers, back on the Wanchese Harbor like they used to be. So just to summarize, because I know I only have a minute, the park is also home to the Miss Katie dredge. That's the state public-private partnership dredge. And we're grateful to have it here. But the reality is it's not able to work like it wants to. Why? Because of all the permitting coordination that's required and all the work that has to go into to get permits takes so long that we're seeing our channels deteriorate because we're waiting on either the coordination with the federal permits or vice versa. And remember, the people that have to coordinate with those federal permits are our own state agencies oftentimes. And it's such a slow process, it's very frustrating to have a dredge in town that can't go out there and do what we need to have done. 30 seconds. Anyway, thank you, and I appreciate the chance to speak.
I might suggest to you, these microphones are not very good directional. You actually have to speak right into the top of it rather than the side of it. Step forward, sir. Come on.
Ready to get started?
State your name.
John Bayless, Bayless Boat Works in seafood or the Marine Park. Been a commercial fisherman and charter fisherman for 27 years. Started boat building 22 years ago. So, along with a lot of these watermen that are here, thousands and thousands of trips through the inlet. But I'm here to talk about a problem that we have in North Carolina. First, I want to say, very, very proud of the reputation that we built. Boat builders in North Carolina, like us, like Spencer, like Scarborough, like Crossway, like Blackwell, Jarrett Bay. All of a sudden, we've been recognized as some of the best builders of these yachts in the world. And we're very appreciative, but we've also worked very hard for that. The dark side of the reputation is the reputation that we have at Oregon Inlet right now. So as you guys know, social media is a big part of what we all live with these days. So the minute somebody comes through Oregon Inlet or runs aground or has a problem getting through the inlet or runs aground in the channel, it's instantly out on social media. That is terrible for our reputation. So for guys like us that are investing millions of dollars in our facilities, we have hundreds of employees. It is extremely frustrating to have work hard to build your business and try and do a good job, and then all of a sudden, social media and bad experiences are killing the reputation for Oregon Inlet, Hatteras Inlet, and the rest of North Carolina. So we've got to correct that. So we were very happy to hear about the Miss Katie and the partnership that took place between the state, Dare County, and private enterprise. Great, fantastic. So all of a sudden this past summer, boats are running aground in the channel. So we started a program where we started piloting boats on our own. We would get a call from a sport fisherman, from a commercial fisherman, run out there, pilot them in the channel, make sure they make it here safely. And we'd always say, please tell a friend that we will help anybody, doesn't matter where they're going, we'll help them get across. And we've had to do that. When I found out what the frustrating part for me was, how can we have a bar that has 8 to 10 feet passable? How can we have an entrance channel to Wanchese that's 8 to 10 feet impassable? But we cannot get the permits to connect the dots between the inlet and Wanchese channel, and it's held up by state agencies. That's incredibly frustrating because, just as Bob pointed out, one doesn't do anything for the other if you can't connect the dots. That's all we're asking. So I have one crude analogy. This is a piece of net twine. Let's just say, I'll be right there.
No, sir.
This is Pamlico Sound in this room. That is all of the channels of Oregon Inlet. You can't even see it. That's the amount of ground we're trying to disturb by dredging and just maintaining what the Corps engineer said was 12 feet. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, come on.
Hi, my name's Greg Mayer. I own and operate the Fishing Frenzy out of Oregon Inlet. I'm a member of NCWU, and I'd just like to thank you for letting us speak here and showing up to hear our cause here. I'm sure you know Oregon Inlet is a big center of commerce around here. Somewhere on the order of $450 million a year goes in and out of the inlet. Over 4,500 jobs are impacted by the inlet and by the boats that are allowed to pass through the inlet, through the channels, back and forth to Wanchese. You know, we've got hundreds of charters run out of here every year. We've got commercial boats, we've got sport boats. We now have a dredge. We've got the Miss Katie that's doing a great job. You know, they're trying to keep the channel open. They've got a permit to keep this one section of channel open. Now, we watch them work, and because of the red tape they have to go through to renew the permits through the Corps, through the federal government, through the state, they're hamstrung. You know, we have a channel, they work on it, it fills in, they can't dredge more than 10 feet. They go over 10 feet and all of a sudden they gotta stop. They've got different permits that they have to work on. Every little section is like that. You know, you go through the main the alternate channel that they built last year. It goes out and back and over and like this to make a straight line. They can't dredge outside the box. So now I'm coming through in the middle of the night and I've got one buoy over here, another buoy over there. There's a red one, there's a green one. I should go between them, but I can't because you actually have a turn up there. If they could straighten it out, look at the permit, look at where the channel's going, make it an even channel and help us out. But basically, you know, it's tough with the red tape, trying to get all the permits taken and do what you can to help us.
Thank you, sir.
All that, Rick.
State your name and who you represent.
My name is Michael Merritt. I've been fishing out of Oregon Inlet, a lot of other places for 56 years. All this red tape and all that permits cost two of my dearest friends' lives Sunday night. You all may not know that. Those permits and that red tape to have that inlet wide open. But I've lost two, all of us have, two very dear friends. And then not because they're amateurs, they were well adept in what they knew how to do. You can't do what you know how to do unless we get rid of all these people holding up everything. Thank you.
Next. You may not have to use that microphone if you don't want to.
Maybe not.
There you go.
My name is Britton Shackelford. I live here, I'm a fisherman. And you know, y'all, we're not three people trying to talk about all of this. What good is that? What good is that when you've got one of the top 3 counties in the state, a county that sends money back to the state? When you got people sitting here, you've got boat builders, you've got homeowners, you've got marina operators, you've got young fish house operators, people full of optimism. And you've got a federal and you've got a state agency that's an agency of none. Now this is great. Benefit coordination through CAMA. We talk about turtles all day long. We'll put the little stickers on the back of our cars. We'll put the porpoise on the back of the cars. We'll put the flip-flops on the back of the car. There's going to be 2 faces going on the back of cars. 2 men who've been back and forth through that inlet more than any of the 3 people that got up here and talked about all of this have driven to work combined in their lives. Let's put the real face on it. I don't care whether it's a federal agency and I don't care whether it's a state agency. The fact that you've got to go through all of this to maintain a safe environment for people to come and go to work is absolutely ridiculous.
Thank you, sir. Next.
My name is Steve King. My family manages and operates the Oregon Inlet Fishing Center. This is the closest enterprise to the Oregon Inlet. From our deck of our news store, you can see the white water breaking over the bars. You've heard about the economic impact that an opening inlet has to Dare County and surrounding communities. Oregon Inlet is designated by the United States Coast Guard as a safe harbor. It's the only inlet on 110 miles of our coast. And yet, tragically, as you just heard, we lost 2, tragically, of our 2 watermen 3 days ago in that inlet. What has to happen here, folks? We don't have a Mother Nature problem. We have a people problem. The dead hand of government has to be removed from the permitting process so that an instrument of public-private partnership that's in place can get the job done. We can handle Mother Nature's problems if only given the opportunity. Please do so. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next.
Hi, I'm Bobby Allen. I'm the county manager here in Dare County, and we're charged with the responsibility of getting those permits. And I'm not going to go through the economics. I've been to countless meetings. I don't know how many times I've heard Britton speak, a bunch, trying to solve these same problems. I've been here 40 years, and we've been fighting inlet problems for 40 years, and we still have problems. I'll just give you some examples of the frustration that we have. The Corps has a permit to dredge an Oregon Inlet, an inlet 400 feet wide, 14 feet deep. And they've been trying to do that. They have limited resources. They do what they can, and they can't do it. The legislature gave us the ability to get a dredge so we could get in there to do that. The legislature created a shallow draft inlet fund so we have funding to get in there and do that. Problem solved. Well, no, the problem's not solved because we can't go in there and do what the Corps did. What we asked to do was we want a permit to do exactly what the Corps do. We got a boat that's the same size, does the same thing, exactly the same as the Corps. Give us a permit, let us go dredge. No, you got to start from the beginning and do a whole process to get a dredge to do exactly the same thing the Corps doing. You put the Corps crew on our ship, and it's okay, but you put Jordan's crew on our ship, and now you gotta go through a whole permitting process to run the same thing. A frustration that took us a while, we got there. You go on, some of the side channels, we're trying to get permits for that. We got Wildlife Resources comes in and says, no, you can't have a permit for that because that needs to be done by a hopper dredge by a pipeline dredge, because we want sand to put on a bird island to protect the sand, to protect the birds. You can't put sand on a bird island with a hopper dredge because it dumps it on the bottom. Well, therefore, we can't dredge. We're then stuck with, when is the Corps gonna dredge that, if they're gonna dredge that, if they get funding, and so on. After more than a year of negotiations back and forth with all that, we get to a process where we're allowed to finally clear that out, but there's some rules and regulations. It's not a perfect process. We had to give some on what we really needed. DCM gave some on what they were hearing from Wildlife Resources, and a permit was issued, but it's not the perfect permit that we need in that area, but it's the best we could get. Another example is dredging, but it's beach nourishment. We did a beach nourishment project in Buxton. Wildlife Resources comes in and is speaking against the program to put the sand on the beach in the summertime because it may impact birds. Well, there's no beach where we were doing it. The waves were breaking on the deck of a hotel. Where were the birds gonna mate? On the rail of the hotel? Fish and Wildlife didn't know that. We had to go through a whole process to talk Fish and Wildlife down off of that requirement in order to get our permits to build that project. We've got a project going on with the Corps right now where they've got a dredge channel in Oregon Inlet that's on top of a wreck.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, I'm Harry Schutzman, Vice President, sorry about that, Vice Chairman of the Oregon Inlet Task Force. And I've been working on this project for the last 40 plus years. Trying to manage sand, manage the channels. And I just want to give you a real quick history shot from 1970 when we had jetties authorized in Congress to in 2003 that project was shelved. In 2014 with Sandy money we did a $9 million pipeline dredge project at Oregon Inlet, and we had a great channel after that project was finished. And 3 months later in that channel we had 3.5 feet of water. That's how fast things change. So we got a lesson. We learned that you can't just dredge a hole and walk away from it. We all know you draw a line in the sand, and when the wave washes over it, what happens? It covers it up. And that's what happens in our channels. So in 2015, we got an agreement with the Corps for them to do 340 12-hour shifts of dredging per year at Oregon Inlet, if we could come up with the money. And thanks to the legislative folks, we came up with the money. But in the first year, there was a 75% effort. In the second year, there was a 50% effort. In the third year, we're down to a 25% effort. And nothing left. They just went away. And Miss Katie came on board, thanks to you all, in order to give us an ability to do this. But we have to stay constantly on it. You have to maintain it. You can't be reactive, you gotta be proactive. And proactive is what the Miss Katie will do if we can have the permits and the permitting people to understand that and revise their thinking in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next.
Thank you. I'm Dare County Commissioner Steve House, the Chairman of the Oregon Inlet Task Force and Chairman of the Dare County Working Watermen's Commission. The obtaining the necessary permits for the maintenance dredging has been cumbersome. The Regulatory Reform Act of 2023 did help this process, and we thank you for that. However, other state agencies, along with the Army Corps of Engineers, at times have come into conflict. And this process is drawn out over several months. We started this permitting progress in August 2022 and still do not have it finalized. Let me give you some references of where common sense should and could come into play, but has not. USAC gave us a dredge box in Dare County to Muscatine dredge to operate on the bar of Morgan Inlet. They're right in the middle of a clear and well-known shipwreck. SHPO has placed a 150-foot buffer around that shipwreck. So we cannot dredge in that area or over that shipwreck or be in violation of permit. But yet they put our dredge box right over the top of it and have failed after several attempts to slightly move it so we can keep the Morgan Inlet bar open. NCDMF is now requiring that before and after a subaquatic vegetation survey be completed after every dredge event. Some of these side channels, like ones going into Oregon Inlet Fishing Center, have vegetation right up next to the site. We are proposing, as we have talked to them, that Ms. Katie would take a swipe coming out to go to where she's working. It wouldn't be just working in that one area back and forth. And once we told them that, they said, well, we still need a survey before and after. It is still unclear when and how often they want to do that survey. The Wanchese Industrial Park has had shoaling less than 4 feet in the areas in the channel going in. Miss Katie's there. She can do the same thing. Swipe it on her way out and keep it maintained and open. But yet we sit here waiting for a permit. We've lost 2 of our fishermen this past week. Very well-known fishermen to not only the industry here, but also with the Outer Banks TV series. We're still waiting here for a permit. That's unacceptable. And Mr. Chairman, I do have a letter that I would like to distribute if you so far.
Yes, sir. If you provide the sergeant's arms, they will distribute.
Thank you.
Next.
Chairman Dixon, Chairman Sanderson, committee members, first off, thank you for coming to nearly the far eastern part of the state of North Carolina with your Legislative Review Commission, Environmental Review Commission meeting. Thank you very much for coming. Some of you I know personally, others I don't, but it's always nice to have people to come down and eat. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I would like to read this into the minutes.
If you can do it
And we'll leave a
time.
typewritten copy.
Yes, sir.
North Carolina's inlets, particularly Oregon Inlet, have tremendous economic impact value to our state. According to a Moffett and Nickel study, the total economic impact of Oregon Inlet is over 4,500 jobs and $550 million, with the potential to exceed $1.1 billion. To Dare County, the surrounding region, and to the state, Oregon, that is quite an economic impact. Oregon Inlet is also considered a harbor of safe refuge by the United States Coast Guard. It's 130 miles from Hatteras Inlet to Rudy Inlet. Oregon Inlet is the only one in that 130 miles. In 2019, Dare County entered into a contract with a private partner to build and operate a dredge to ensure shallow draft navigation dredging projects in the state are completed in an expeditious and timely manner. Many thanks to the legislature for making this happen. The Muscatine dredge vessel began operating in August of 2022. Unfortunately, Muscatine's potential to effectively operate in North Carolina waterways is greatly restricted by permitting constraints from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality and the Army Corps of Engineers. To ensure the success of this project and the vessels are enabled to safely navigate the channels and inlets of coastal North Carolina, your assistance is urgently requested to remove the bureaucratic red tape. Thank you very much for letting me come all the way from Eatonton, North Carolina, the other end of the Albemarle Zone, to visit and have these comments with you today.